Hello and welcome to the June subscription video 2021, where we're going to taste and talk about the coffees that we're sending out to all our coffee subscribers in June. Now, if you don't know what a coffee subscription is, it means that we send out coffees to all our coffee subscribers once a month, and it's a recurring subscription, so you can sign up and you can pause it at any time, you can stop it at any time, but it means you get coffee in your mailbox once a month, every month, until you say, I don't need coffee anymore. Now, normally I pick out coffees that are tasting good at that particular moment, so I've chosen 3 coffees today that I feel are tasting really good today. And sometimes we buy exclusive lots for our subscription service, just because it's a lot of fun, and we know that a lot of our fans are subscribing to our coffees, and they really enjoy drinking something exclusive from time to time. Now, we were supposed to send out another coffee this month, and unfortunately, when I tasted this coffee in our quality control, the green coffee had faded, and that means the coffee has been resting for a period, and sometimes you get the occasion where the fats and oils in the coffee beans, they oxidize, and you get this kind of woody flavored coffee. And woody flavor is because, you know, the coffee bean is mainly made of cellulose, so when you kind of extract stale oils with cellulose, you tend to get these kind of woody flavors. And I didn't really want to send that out to our subscribers because, you know, most coffee people don't enjoy that flavor. I know, you know, maybe the majority of you wouldn't even notice and possibly also would enjoy that flavor. But for a coffee professional, and we have a lot of coffee fans following us and subscribing, they would definitely pick out that flavor immediately, even though it was just slightly there. So we prefer not to send out those coffees, and because of that, we're actually sending out the coffee that we sent out 2 months ago that is still tasting really good and fruity. So I feel, you know, it's better to do that than to send out something below par. I hope you agree with me there. Should we just get started, I guess? Now, the coffee that we are sending out again, since we did two months ago, is the first coffee, and that's a Nacimiento coffee from the farm Nacimiento in Honduras, and it's a Pacas variety. Now, this is a little bit later picking, so it has a little bit more intensity than 2 months ago, and a lot more fruit flavors. So you can get these kind of winey flavors, a little bit of red berries. A lot of people find it to taste like stone fruits, you know, whatever makes you happy. But it's definitely quite fruity. Oh yes. Quite intense flavors of fruit. Now, it's an Honduran coffee, so it also has quite a nice big body and a kind of a chocolatey flavor. You might find the acidity to be reminiscent of when you eat apples or stone fruit. But it's not like a ferment flavor here. It's a washed coffee, and it's very, very clean, well structured. But it has this kind of really ripe stone fruit and red berry flavors. Now, the farm Nacimiento is situated on a hillside, and normally they start harvesting in the beginning of the year, so January, February, and then they have the harvest until July actually. But we normally tend to buy until June because we also need to ship the coffees, and to not having the coffee picked early wait too long, we kind of have to compromise a little bit on that. And also the pickings at later in the year it's quite small volumes. But we have found that the later pickings are tasting normally much, much better and more intense, and that's just because it's from the higher altitudes on the farm. So normally the flowers, you know, they appear on the trees at the same time, but the ripening is a little bit faster in the lower part of the farm, which is 1,500 meters. And at the highest part of the farm, there's a lot of kind of clouds all the time, because it's a mountain, and those coffees tend to be ripe much later, so May, June, July. Finca Nacimiento is actually the first farm we started buying direct from, and it's one of my favorite coffees actually, and it is also one of the best or most consistent and best coffees in Honduras. And how do I know that? Well, Hobnil with his coffees have been in top 10 in Cup of Excellence many times. And that's a kind of a competition for coffee farmers. And a lot of the farmers in this area in Santa Barbara, they tend to do really well in the Cup of Excellence. So it's quite a unique microclimate there, and also really intense and fruity coffees. So although you might have tasted that 2 months ago, we sent it out as a 2-bag for the 2 and 3-bag subscribers. I still really enjoy this coffee, and you know, you can't really have enough of a good thing, I guess. Now the second coffee is also really nice. We did send out last month 3 coffees from Finca Tamana. We sent out Variedad Colombia and Caturra blend. We sent out Bourbon and then the Castillo. Now this is actually the SL28 from the same farm, so Finca Tamana in Colombia. SL28 is a Kenyan variety, and it's quite normal to grow in Kenya, Tanzania, but outside of kind of Africa, it's not so normal to grow SL28. Now this is a little bit strange because it's quite a tall plant. It produces well and has a lot of good flavors, normally like blackcurrant, raspberries, rhubarb, these kind of flavors. But it's not as intense when it's grown outside of Kenya, in my experience. So on the Finca Tamana in Colombia, although the latitude is almost the same as in Kenya, the climate is still quite different. So this coffee is a little bit more subtle in the fruit flavor and a bit different intensity. For me, it's more like a black tea kind of flavor. And it doesn't mean that it's thin in the mouthfeel, but it's kind of a black tea flavor with a little bit of fruit, and have this kind of beautiful, delicate floral flavors as well. So quite an elegant coffee. And it has a little bit of herbalness, but I don't really mind that. That's normal actually from the coffees from Finca Tamana. They all tend to have a little bit of herbalness, I think. We planted these trees actually together with Elias. I think now it's 7 years ago. I don't really remember perfectly, but I think it was 2014. And it has taken some years for these trees to produce. Of course, they need to grow up. And then in the first years, you know, we just had a little bit of harvest, and then more and more. So now we actually bought, I think, 560 kilos of this coffee. And of course, most of it will go out to our subscribers, but we'll still have some left for other people to buy through our web shop as well. So SL28, quite a nice, delicate coffee. And compared to the Nacimiento, which for me is quite intense in flavor, the SL28 from Tamana is much more kind of floral and delicate, but it still has a little bit of subtle fruit, and maybe a little bit of this kind of caramel sweetness. Yeah, really nice coffee, I think. Well balanced and delicate and quite refreshing, to be honest. The third coffee, I know a lot of you are going to enjoy. That's a geisha from the Caballero family in Honduras. And we sent out some washed geisha from them a few months ago, but this is a honey process. So that means when you depulp the coffee cherries, you just take them into the drying beds immediately without fermenting and washing off the mucilage. So the parchment coffee or the beans are drying with mucilage still on them. And that kind of normally gives you a slight fermentation process going on while it's drying, so you get this kind of strawberry-like fruit. This doesn't really have a lot of that. It's a super, super clean honey process. You can find a little bit of that kind of stone fruit, slight strawberry flavor. But it's really not the dominant flavor as it tends to be in a lot of honey processed coffees. The dominant flavors here are from the variety, which is the geisha variety. And that has a lot of these kind of jasmine-like flavors, and in this particular coffee, like sweet mandarin, or some people say tangerine, but you know these mandarins that you buy for Christmas here in Norway, for instance, it really has a lot of that flavor. And yeah, it's just a super nice and sweet coffee. Very juicy, a little floral, citric, but not like the Panamanian geishas. They tend to be more like a lemony citric and maybe a little bit more elegant in the body and lighter bodied. This is quite still a heavy bodied coffee compared to those, and has a lot of that mandarin flavor. It's a beautiful coffee to make iced coffees from. We have a recipe for our iced coffee on YouTube. We can probably put a link below. And It involves a little bit of sweetener, but you won't regret that because it really brings out the fruit in the coffee, which is quite refreshing to drink. So we brew it hot and then cool it down afterwards, so you get those kind of floral and fruity flavors. Very nice. And compared to the Tamana, they're both floral, but in different ways. So when I say floral, it doesn't always mean jasmine. It can also be, you know, when you just go into a garden and you just smell these kind of flowers. That's the kind of aromas you get. And on the Nacimiento, it's much more of a kind of deep, heavy, ripe fruits. So those are the coffees we're sending out. If you subscribe to one bag, you'll obviously just get the Nacimiento. If you get 2 bags per month, you get the first 2 coffees. And if you get 3 bags per month, you get all 3 coffees. And that also goes if it's 4, 5, or 6. It means you get 2 of that if it's 4, 2 of that if it's 5, and 2 of that if it's 6. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hopefully next month we will be able to send out our Kenyan coffees. We were supposed to send them out now actually, but because of COVID, the boats going from Kenya, they tend to offload some containers in Saudi Arabia or the Middle East, and in that port the container was stuck because there was not enough space on the boat going to Europe from there. So it's actually 4 weeks delayed, so I'm really hoping and crossing my fingers. I got confirmation now that it's going to arrive in late June. So hopefully it will be here on time for the next subscription. Otherwise we'll have to improvise a little bit. We are kind of low on stock at the moment because most of the farms we buy from, they harvest from December to June, July. And that means in the rest of the year we're not really able to buy coffee. So now is the kind of time where we have been buying a lot of coffees already and they're on their way to Norway. But because of COVID, shipping is a little bit delayed in most countries. And that's a little bit of a challenge. So the coffees are coming in a little bit later, but I can assure you when they arrive, we're almost out of coffee now, so we will be able to sell them straight away. And that means really nice and fresh coffees for you. So hopefully next month we'll have some Kenyan coffees. Otherwise we'll see what happens. And until then, I hope you enjoyed this video and these coffees and have a great June, I guess summer month for you here in Norway. Enjoy the sun. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.